Hi, I'm Crazy Cowboy Roof. Professor Pi wanted to remind you that you got a test coming. It's going to be on all the lines. We're going to have a section on slope intercept form that we did the other day. We're going to have a section on point slope form, and we'll have a couple questions about standard form. Today, Professor Pi is going to tell us all about point and slope form. I can hardly wait. Hi, I'm Professor Pi. Today we're going to talk about equations of line and point slope form. The other day we did slope intercept form, and most of my students, well, except for Crazy Cowboy Rufus, most of them got it. The I can statements say I can write an equation of a line given the slope and the line and the point on that line. This is not a 0, 5 point. It's like 5, 5 point. Intercept, we had a 0 in the x position. Now we'll have a point. I can write the equation of a line parallel perpendicular to a given line. For those of you who are the first time you're getting a lesson at home, that you've been at school, and now we've gone partially virtual, you can see that I have a place up here. I'm going to put my video, this video, when I'm done with it, and load it onto my YouTube channel. I also have 4 other videos on every single lesson. If you don't get it from me, that won't be a problem. If you need to go to Math Antics and you learn math, I'll be fine with that. There's 4 other videos besides mine. If you have problems, watch them all. If you understand what you're doing, you can go on to the assignment. This is point slope form. It's y. We got to have a y in the equation. We got to have x in the equation. We don't move that. We will move the y minus, we will move the y1 and the x1. We subtract the x1 over here. We subtract the y1 over here. Slope goes outside the parentheses. Now, once again, the best way for me to do this is to copy this. We're going to copy the line right here. I'm going to copy that line right there. Let's make it a little bit smaller so I can function. Now, all right, y, minus 3, minus 3. So we know part of that point is something, comma, 3. And the something, the x minus 2, we don't change the sign if it's minus and minus. So that's 2, 3. That line goes through 2, 3, and it has a slope of 4. Whatever's in front of the parentheses is our slope. In this case, it's 4. Now, these examples, you get the formula, you get the graphing information. Everybody knows how to graph that. We're going to go to 2, 3 on our coordinate plane, and we're going to go up 4 and to the right 1. Up 4, right 1. Make a dot. You could also get it, if you're running out of graph at the top, you could get it by going down 4 and backwards 1. Make a dot. Once you have those dots, draw your line. All right, take a look at this one. Compare it with the equation up there. This 4 is a plus 4, but the equation calls for a minus 4. So there we're going to change the sign. This is the y coordinate, so we're going to put it second, and it's a minus 4. Whatever's out there with y is a negative 4, minus 4. That's our coordinate for the y. Then we're going to look at the coordinate for the x. Minus 2, minus sign, minus sign. This is a regular 2, not a negative 2. So our line goes through 2, negative 4, and it has a slope of whatever, I told you a minute ago, it's whatever's in front of the parentheses. I don't see anything, but I think the invisible number in front of the parentheses is a 1. if it'll help you, think about the one out there. It's not 0. 0 would take out the whole parentheses. So my slope would be equal to 1. Here's my third one. Compare it with the equation. Let's start with the x this time. The x goes first. X is -2, so that's going to be -2. It has to look like a minus sign here and a minus sign here. So that's just regular 2. We will change the sign. That's a -2 becomes a regular +2. And then +18 becomes -18. And our slope is equal to whatever's in front of the parentheses. In this case, it's 15. Now, if you were to graph this, given you're going to need some graph paper to graph this because you're going to have at least 20 squares, you're going to go 2 to the right and 18 down, make a dot. Then you're going to go 15 spaces up, and then you're going to go 1 space to the right and make another dot. When the slope is 15, it's very much the type of slope that you can't stand on a roof. This is 0. This is a slope of 1. This is a slope of 3. 15's way up there. 15's the type of roof like you saw the other day where you're going to need a ladder and a rope just to stay on them. Now that's how you go from the formula to the graphing information. Here we are going to have, I'm going to bring the formula down again, shrink it, and that's what I do. I put the number right, I compare that number, and I know what I'm going to do here. Y minus something equals parentheses, something in front of the parentheses, now we just put this stuff in. The slope is 5. It goes in front of the parentheses. The x coordinate is 9. So we are going to go x minus 9 in that parenthesis. And what goes over here? The 4. The +4 goes to minus because there's a subtraction in the equation. Once again, I'm going to compare that equation. Notice I changed the next point just a little. Y minus the 4. Y subtract 4 equals the slope 5 times parentheses. This is not going to be +9, right? Or it is going to be +9. Which one? Minus or plus? Yep, you're right. That one's going to be +9. Here, it's going to be y plus 4. Y plus 4 equals 5/2. Whatever's in front of x is the slope. In this case, it's 5/2 slope, which would be 5 up and 2 to the right. 5 up, 2 to the right. And then we have x plus 9, right? Because we're going to have a minus in there. X plus 9. Put it in parentheses. Now here's my 5th example. Bring this down so I'll have it handy right there. All right, I've got 2 points here. We are going to find the slope. We're going to put that in for M. Then we're going to put the 3, 4 or the -1, into our points. Since it's point slope form, it doesn't matter which point you need, but you got to have one point. So now when we find slope, it's y on the top subtracted, right? 4 minus a -1 on the top. And on the bottom, it's going to be 3 minus a -1. Clean that up a little because we know 2 minus signs make 1 plus sign. 2 negatives in a row, just think one big plus sign. So that becomes 5/4. My slope is 5/4. So now I can make an equation. And I can choose either 0.1 or I can choose 0.2. I'm going to choose 0.1 because I don't see any negative numbers. That would probably be easier. So I get y minus 4 is equal to 5/4 parentheses x minus 3. Notice that I've got the y coordinate 4 and the x coordinate 3. If you get x and y confused, this is always x comma y. If you get it confused, it's not going to be the same equation. If the 3 were over here with the y, you'd have a real problem. Here's my last example. Bring down the formula so I can look at it again. On your quiz, by the way, the formula will be at the top. I want parallel to y equals 4x minus 7, and we want it to go through 1, -6. The first thing we got to do is figure out what the slope of this is. If we can figure out the slope of that, parallel would be the same slope. Parallel are always the same slope. Now, if I ask for perpendicular, that's that right angle thing, the slope would be flipped upside down and negative. And in a minute, we'll work on perpendicular. We'll just put it down here. And we'll change the point to -1, just so it looks different. All right, slope-intercept form the other day, we learned that whatever was in front of x, whatever's in front of x is a slope. So my new slope is going to be 4 because I want them parallel, just like the railroad tracks in geometry. We've been studying parallel lines in geometry. They got to be equal distant apart, just like a railroad tie. So our slope is 4. So it's y subtract a -6 equals 4. My slope will be 4. X minus 1. Two minus signs here. We can just get rid of 2 minus signs. We can always put 1 plus sign. Now, here we're the same thing except for we got no perpendicular. What was the slope here? The slope's 4. So m equal 4. We got to worry about flipping that, and then we got to put a negative sign in front of it. Perpendicular lines, we're going to flip them and change the sign. So when we flip 4, we get 1/4. And when we change the sign, we're going to put a negative sign out front. Does everybody agree that 4/1 flipped upside down and change the sign looks like -1/4? So this is going to be our new slope. That's the new slope of our equation. Perpendicular to that line, going through those lines. So now, once again, we know the equation now. I don't have to bring it down. It's y minus a minus 6 equals negative 1/4 x, and the x coordinate is x minus a minus 1. I'm just going to clean this up because here I got two minuses and here I got two minuses. So we're going to make them both plus, two negative signs in a row with nothing between them. Becomes one plus sign there. And it becomes one plus sign here. And that is the equation of a line perpendicular to this line that goes through -1, -6. Hi, I'm Professor Pi. Thank you for coming to my channel to see your mathematical adventure. Come back tomorrow. We have plenty more math to discuss.